Dylan, thanks so much for joining me on the
Let's
Optimist
go.
Brief
Thanks,
today.
Thanks for the...
My first collab.
Yeah, it's the first collab podcast of Can for me as well, so I was pumped to get your invite, man.
And dude, I have to thank you. Because
go.
you're the reason for this whole thing existing.
That's awesome.
When you interviewed Jill, our CEO, the first thing she said after you left was, Dan, you got to do that. I was like, you mean you're going to fly me around to talk to people on camera and put it on YouTube? Okay, yeah, I could do that. Thank you for being so gracious, man.
Of course. Well, as you probably have realized since launching it, it's one of the best business development tools that I've ever implemented as far as, kind of evolving the way that I do business development. I mean, I think you probably know that it's harder than ever to break through to people cold, whether you're reaching out on email or whether you're reaching out on if you're reaching out on LinkedIn, people think you're a chatbot or something like that.
So true. It's the only way to prove that we're real people.
Yeah, and I think it's just, I think sales, a lot of people, biz dev, sales, whatever you want to call it, it's about adding value and about being generous first before you ask for things. So if you can provide somebody a platform to get their thought leadership out there, if you can provide them an audience, you can provide them access to content. I think it's an amazing way to start any business relationship. So bravo to you that you picked up on that little tidbit that's been working for me for a little bit now. So
I think you're exactly right. It's the same reason people say yes to being on panels, right?
Yep.
Like they have a point of view they want to share, or they have an idea that they want to put out in the world, and of course it helps build their profile too. So like you said, I think I even hesitate to use the word sales, but I think even in biz dev, I'm always trying to add value, whether it's connecting two people who know each other, or to say like, hey, I got to introduce you to my friend. I feel like you guys could benefit from knowing each other. And in here, of course, giving people an opportunity to share their point of view is always good. And you're right. What a great way to meet somebody is to offer something up. As opposed to asking for something.
Totally. I love it. Well, you guys are doing great.
So tell me, I know you've interviewed Swap from Attention Arc, who's here in the...
Yeah, Swap's in the house. I love that guy.
And obviously, the elephant in the room is that we're on a boat right now.
We are on a boat.
This is my first time at Cannes. How many times have you been to Cannes, and sort of what has this experience been like as you've been here a couple different times?
Yeah, so I've been here 3 times. The first time was when I was in your role, doing business development for an influencer agency that I was with a couple of years ago. I was there for 9 years. And I went super last minute, never been to Cannes, small agency, bought the main badge, had no meetings lined up, basically just figured I would walk around and try and meet people, And it was fun. It was still a great experience. One of the things that I noticed is as I was flipping through the networking app, I would see people who I knew, I would text them, and then after a couple of days, I felt like I was just rolling around with my friends from LA that I could see anytime. So by the 3rd day, I made a rule for myself that I wasn't allowed to reach out to anybody that I already knew.
Love that.
And that I was only going to reach out to people that I hadn't met before. I was going to go to panels and try and connect with the panelists afterwards. And that was a great experience, but definitely like no strategy, no preparation, and just kind of leaving a lot up to chance, which isn't the best way to do business development or try to network or make the best of an event like this.
Even the most seasoned veteran meter of people needs a plan of some kind. Okay, so tell me, now you're here on behalf of Strike Social.
Yes, for sure. So it's my 3rd year here now, my 2nd year as part of the official press corps. I'm grateful that I've got clients that are willing to send me to great events like this to do business development on their behalf. So Strike Social is one of my clients. They're an AI company that helps agencies optimize paid social spend, and they work with about 2,000 agencies around the world. So coming to a global event like Cannes is a great opportunity for me to call on clients and meet existing people and build relationships.
We can talk about that for Iris.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I said, this is my first time ever. I got a call way too late at night from my dad and his friends from Cannes 15 years ago saying, you gotta get here, you gotta come here. This is the center of the world. And I remember thinking, that sounds like a trip that the suits get to take to step on stage and win an award or two. But of course I did always want to come here.
Yeah.
What I've noticed that's different from what I expected is that I've seen young people up on stage accepting the awards. So I think some of those negative connotations of the folks coming to accept awards that other people did might not be true. In a lot of cases, it's a really cool way for young people and everybody else to sort of showcase their work. When you come here, are you a part of the award? Do you come see the panels? Do you like to see the work itself, or what are you trying to absorb?
I absolutely wish I could see more of the work. When you become part of the press corps, as soon as you register for the PR pass and get accepted, your inbox explodes with PR pitches. So I was getting canned pitches before I left for Possible. So my calendar kind of fills itself up very quickly with PR pitches from either brands that want to talk about awards that they've won or work that they're doing or things that they're announcing here. Press conferences, a lot of agency meet and greets, a lot of ad tech platform and publishers, all the usual suspects. I try and prioritize brands, then I prioritize agencies, and then I prioritize like kind of the vendor community.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm not getting to spend as much time as I did as a civilian or gen pop, as you would say, actually looking at the work and stuff like that. But I do like to check all that out at home. And I think you made a good point. I think with programs like the Young Lions, and I think agencies being more intentional that this is an opportunity to not just send the higher ups to come and do biz dev and have a boondoggle, as you would say, but it's an opportunity to reward. If you have a creative that did great work, you should reward them by letting them be here and be part of the process at least. So
I couldn't agree more. I also I love in all of the talk of how this industry has changed and evolved, and a lot of people think it's in the wrong sort of ways, right? I love that we all got into this because we have an appreciation for creativity, and I love that this place celebrates creativity. I love that their work is sort of at the center of it all, and the folks who are doing great work or want to be inspired to do great work or want to see other people's great work are here to appreciate that, and it kind of has reminded me why I got into this in the first place. Because it really is the best of the best, and I know they sort of start and the whole thing builds. But last night was B2B and pharma, and I was inspired by a lot of the work I saw.
Oh yeah, it's always exciting to see best of case work, especially in the categories that are harder to be creative. B2B, it's a challenge to to move people with emotion and humor. Or even fear sometimes, right?
Sure.
I think one of the things that a lot of criticism that I've seen around advertising in the AI space is that it's like everybody flexing about how they're going to put the world out of a job because they are trying to pump up their stock price or they pump up their IPO opportunity. But I think what we're learning is that AI is a superpower for the individual. Without a human in the loop, there's no way to make AI useful, and if consumers disappear, then these brands aren't going to have anybody to sell their products to. So I think, I heard a keynote from Zach, who's the guy that was the first go-to-market marketer at OpenAI and ChatGPT, and his challenge to the industry was, hey, we've got to tell stories about optimism. We've got to tell stories about how AI is going to make the world better and not try to scare people because, fear is a motivating tool, especially, for a lot of these tech pros. So I think that's a good challenge for B2B is to tell stories of how the future is going to be a better place, not a worse place.
It's so true. I wish I would have seen that panel because I couldn't agree more, especially it was almost set up as AI is not only not for us, but it's to compete against us.
Yeah, exactly.
And to replace us. And I was on a flight the other day and we have this thing called Abacus, which is basically an aggregator of a lot of different AI tools. And I have a client friend who works at Nerds, the candy company.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, what if you guys gave away nerd glasses that were covered in nerds? Because they had new ropes. So I just plugged it in and he's like, what are you talking about? I quick did that from 30,000 feet, created it and showed him. It's got little tape in the middle, the classic nerd glasses, but they're covered in nerds.
Yep.
And he was like, that's a great idea. But of course you're able to demonstrate that idea, and I'm not even a creative guy.
Yeah, you can synthesize it as a business development guy. I think what AI has done is it's unleashed creativity to people who aren't traditionally, we're all creative, but we're not all skilled tacticians.
Exactly. And the barrier of entry, I don't have to know Photoshop or all these other tools.
Yeah, or even video editing. I've had a little idea for a commercial rolling around in the back of my head for my sales agency for most of my career. And, I always thought, oh man, if I had $20,000, this is how I would do it. Well, I remember over the holidays, I spent a weekend just making the commercial using AI tools, using Adobe Firefly, and the end product wasn't something I would ever put into the world, but it was basically what I wanted to accomplish. So
you made the thing.
Yeah, and I think like you said, now I think the average person can put their creative vision at least on paper or in film as something to show real creatives, what they're thinking and how to get to the end result that they're looking for.
Okay. So, we're out here in the heat. I'm not complaining because I'm from Minnesota, where it's cold 9 months out of the year. But I don't want to keep you in the sun too long.
Hey, I don't mind. It's I'm a big sauna fan, so this is my in-between sauna time when we're doing interviews closer to the sun.
So my last two questions. One, this is all about optimism, and we've basically been touching on it this whole time because we're talking about sort of reasons to be in love with this industry and be excited. Stepping back as both a member of press, a member of the biz dev community, and somebody who's been at a few different agencies, what are you optimistic about in the industry as a whole?
I think two things. One, I'm optimistic that smaller to mid-size agencies can really compete with the global holding companies because I think if anything, but you guys and also indie agencies, right? I think there's a lot of consolidation. There's a lot of deck chairs being moved around the boat. No pun intended. So a lot of people are being displaced by that. But that if three guys get fired and they know a client, they can go start an indie agency now and compete because they have AI tools that allow them to have the same speed, scale, and capabilities of a lot of the bigger companies. So I think it's never been a better time to be an indie or a mid-sized company. So I think that's super optimistic as the world is flattening again through the use of AI and AI-enhanced creativity. And I think from a business development perspective, I was on the road every single week this year except 6 weeks.
Oh my.
Because AI allows my inbox and the things that are happening in the background to kind of get done in a way that's somewhat automated, and it frees me up to do more of the human part of the job, which is get out and meet people. And like we talked, at the beginning, like cold email, LinkedIn, stuff that used to work during COVID when we couldn't get together, it just doesn't work anymore. So if you want to build relationships and get to know people, I think you have to get out into the world, and these events, conferences, intimate things that you do, things that are face-to-face, things that are human. We like to think that we've gotten so much more done on Zoom. Zoom is a great place for productivity and to communicate. You do not build relationships on Zoom. This is the second time you and I are hanging out in person, and we're going to become better friends because we
100%.
spent time together in face, not because we texted and hit each other up on LinkedIn now and then. So I'm optimistic that AI is allowing people to spend time being human and spending more time in real life.
I appreciate that, and I will say, and that I have been appreciative of and in admiration of what you've been doing this whole time. The one difference is I've said, and partially it's because I want free trips out of Minnesota as often as possible, but I said I always want the Optimist Brief to be in person because
I love it. That's
real
smart.
Conversations. And even if, and by the way, like your volume is incredibly impressive, and I feel like there's a new ad podcast on like every single day, and I'm like, okay, I hope my boss isn't seeing how often the ad podcast is publishing stuff, because I'm only able to do it like once every few weeks because I'm traveling somewhere, making it, and then cutting it.
Yeah.
But I do think that in-person connection is real, and I also think, who do I want to deal with in terms of salespeople reaching out to me? Mm-hmm. And it's always people like, let's go hang out and get a drink and figure it out.
Exactly.
And figure out if there's a mutual benefit. Let's get together versus a sales pitch or, God forbid, a demo online.
Is there anything worse?
I'm just like, I'm trying not to check my email the whole time,
100%. Or turn off the camera and eat a sandwich.
Exactly. Okay, so last question I have for you. Is what advice do you have for me? Like I said, you've been doing an incredible job with the ad podcast. I love you as a human being. I think you're an incredible guy.
It. You too.
And you showed up for us and for Iris and for Jill to the first time. And I would love to be as much like you as possible. So tell me what advice you might have.
I love it, man. Well, I would say keep doing the great work. I think you are onto an important component, which is optimize to be in person as much as possible with these, because I think, content for the sake of content, it can become like AI slop. If you're just doing a show to do a show and to create content and to get views, then the intentionality behind it starts to become opaque. But if you're doing it to build relationships first, I'm coming up on 400 episodes, but and I've been doing it since 2018. But at the end of the day, if I stop loving it, if I stop doing it because I have an intentionality of wanting to serve other people and help give them a platform, and I just get into a rhythm of like creating content for the sake of creating content, then I think it loses its magic. So I love the idea that you're doing it in person. You've got maybe a little bit more resources than I with these nice DJI cameras and this yacht. I'm on a startup guy budget.
You're welcome to this yacht anytime you want.
But I think, use the fact that you've got a great agency behind you and a great network that's willing to support what you're doing and elevating the craft ultimately of what you guys are putting out into the world. So I think I love that idea of in-person and making that a through line. I don't know, something that I'm experimenting with this year is live shows. So I'm just built a relationship with a co-work space in San Diego called Kiln that's got a studio that I'm using for in-person podcasts, but they also have a room that seats 100 people in an auditorium. So my next move is to take the show on the road, so to speak, and make it something, can next year, or in a room somewhere with hopefully a live audience. So maybe that's something that you give a try when you have a chance to think about, then it becomes event production on top of a podcast. It adds more dynamics, but anything we can do to keep stepping the game up, I think, is important. So
when you get on stage, and you will,
let's go.
I'll be in the front row.
Let's go.
Dylan Conroy from the Ad Podcast. Thank you so much for being on the Optimist Brief. I appreciate you, man. I really do care about you as a friend. Thanks for saying yes to this.
I love it. See you guys soon.
On YouTube, finding the right audience to build a media plan requires hours of research. And optimizing campaigns is time-consuming and a bit of a guessing game. That's why we built technology to do it for you. Strike Social.